What's up, everybody? Coming to you from 12-foot enclosed trailer. Descend calls home. Yeah, that's right. Anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about the wreck of the Eagle. My favorite wreck to dive in the Keys. I'm obviously a little bit biased because she is in my backyard. And I have dove her thousands of times. And every time, I still, to this day, love hanging out on her. So we're going to give a little bit of chat about the Eagle. So the Eagle is a 300-foot freighter. She went down in 1985, intentionally part of the artificial reef program here in the Keys. That same year, up in Key Largo, they put down the bib and the Dwayne. The Bibwayne. So a lot of cool artificial reef program here, or artificial reefs here in the Keys. The Spiegel Grove, the Dwayne, the Bib, the Eagle, the Thunderbolt, Adolphus Bush, all the way down to the Vandenberg in Key West. Kind of a wreck trek we have going on here in the Keys. You start at Key Largo, you go to Key West, and you hit all these beautiful wrecks in between. And the one in Islamorada is the Eagle. And we're going to chat about her. So, like I said, I've dove her a bunch, and I've got some cool experiences on her, some cool stories. She went down in her state now on her side. See, what happened is she was moored up or anchored up in the spot where they wanted to send her down to the sand, which was going to end up being right next to the Alexander barge. Now, the Alexander barge is an old push barge from years and years and years ago. There's not a whole lot to it. One big slab of a barge. Still attracts tons of critters. And all around the barge is remnants of the Snake Creek Bridge, which they redid years ago. And they took the concrete from the bridge and the rebar and everything that didn't have any contaminants in it, and they sunk it all around the Alexander barge. So there's this huge reef structure area with the barge being in the middle and all of the concrete from the bridge being around it, and some of those concrete abutments are huge. Kind of looks like a bomb went off in a city, pretty cool. Anywho, so that's where they wanted the Eagle to go. They had it situated right sort of above the barge, and they were going to send her down, and she was going to end up on the bottom of the ocean, upright, right next to the barge, and it was going to be this huge area of reef and two wrecks, more or less, the Alexander and the Eagle. But nature had a different idea. So what happened is she broke free from her anchorage. She didn't want to go down there, I guess. So she broke free, and she started to drift, right? And the people that were in charge of, I guess, blowing her up to send her to the bottom all scrambled and realized that she was adrift, and they shot down her anchors to stop her from drifting. Once the anchors hit, she stopped, and she was obviously a little bit of ways away from where they wanted to put her down, but it was too late at that point. That's where she was going to go. So what they did is they set off the charges, boom, boom, and she sunk. Okay, so that happened in 1985, upright, good to go. Then in 1998, Hurricane George, I believe it's Hurricane George. Memory? Let me know if I'm wrong on that one. I think it's Hurricane George. Came by and picked her up. The force of these hurricanes are ridiculous. So that hurricane picked her up, broke her in half, and laid her down on her side. And that's how she remained for years and years and years. And that's how I, know her as. It's really nice because even though she is broken in half, you can see down the hull of the ship, and it kind of gives you a cool perspective that she is broken in half like that. to be able to dive. And then where she's broken, the currents run through there, right? Because it's kind of a small area and the currents run through, and that's where a tremendous amount of fish congregate, because with currents comes nutrition and stuff to feed on, right? So that's a good spot to hang out if you're a spear fisherman, and or a photographer, or just a diver that wants to see cool stuff, right? That's the spot. Then she, like I said, she sat like that for years. Then in 2018, I should have that memory in my brain, Hurricane Irma came through, picked her up a little bit more, and smooshed one of her sides. And that's how she sits like today. So she's cool. Like I said, I've got a lot of fun times on her. You know, I'm a big spear fisherman, and I've speared the eagle a lot. Like I mentioned before, because there's such a wide area of reef out in the middle of sand, right? This is out in the middle, beyond the barrier reef, out in the middle of hundreds and thousands of acres of sand, right? So you stick something down there, a structure like the eagle or that barge I was telling you about, and all that concrete that I was telling you about, and that creates a massive artificial reef, right? So this place attracts all kinds of stuff. So there's so much area for things to hide out, and the little stuff to hide out. Well, the little stuff hiding out brings in the bigger stuff to eat the little stuff, and those medium-sized stuff brings in the bigger. It's the food pyramid, right? So it's really good for shark viewing. You know, if you're lucky, you'll see some sharks down there, and I've seen everything from great whites to hammerheads and lots of bullies. Of course, nurse sharks. In fact, one of my favorite stories, I was spearfishing on the Eagle, and it was a time of year where the African pompano kind of come in, right? I think it was around March or something. It's a few years ago. Oh, geez, more than that. Yeah, whatever. 10 years ago. I don't know. I was going down the line. So there's mooring lines, right? There's mooring balls on the surface you can just click into with your boat. And then you can take that line down, hand over hand, all the way down to the wreck. So I'm coming down the mooring line, and as great visibility that day, as I'm coming down, I see a bull shark on the bottom, just cruising around. Little teenager, probably 5 foot. Problem with teenagers and teenagers bull sharks, to be more precise, is that they have the smallest brain and the most testosterone of any shark, especially at that age. So, you know, you combine those two aspects, and you got some issues sometimes. It reminds me of a couple of rugby buddies I grew up with in college. Not much of a brain, lots of testosterone. All right. So anyways, I see him down there. I didn't pay him too much mind. He's minding his business. I'm minding mine. Not a big deal. And at the same time, I see about 3 large African pompanos swim by. Right. Usually pompano, when they're sighted, they're usually with a few buddies. Right? It's rare you just see a lone African pompano. Usually they have friends with them. So anyways, at this time there was 3 of them. One big alpha, right? So I got excited because African pompano is not only really fun to hunt, super strong. You're in for a battle if you're lucky enough to get a shot on one. But even more importantly, they are delicious. I have an amazing African pompano recipe I'll share with you guys on another video. So I got excited. It's one of my favorite fish to eat and hunt. So I was hoping I was going to get a chance on these guys. And so what I did is I set up, and I literally pretty much just laid next to the mast that is on its side, obviously, because the eagle's on its side. I kind of just rested there, almost like a sniper in a tree. And fate would have it that these pompano came back. Woohoo! Right? So they come back, and I get one. I shoot the big one, and he takes me for a ride. I mean, I was all over the place, right? So when you spearfish and you shoot something, you have a lanyard or a line that is attached to your gun and it's attached to the spear shaft. So you're constantly attached to the fish while he's fighting. And if they're big like these pompano are, it's awesome, right? So I'm fighting this thing and it's vibrating and bleeding all over the place. Well, guess what, right? Our little teenage bull shark got pretty feisty about that. So at one point I saw him come flying over like this, right? And I'm like, oh boy. So I'm fighting this fish and I finally get to the fish and I wrap my arms around it and I wrap my legs around it and I'm holding him and he's kicking and fighting. And I kick over to the up line now, the same mooring line. I came down, now it's time to go up because my boat is on the surface up there and there's no bull sharks on my boat. So I want to get up there with my fish. I'm hungry, right? So I start going up the line. I got the fish like this and I'm pulling myself up like this. And this bull shark came out of nowhere like a torpedo and hit me right in the old butt cheek. I mean, torpedoed me, thankfully with his mouth shut, right in my butt, right in my ass. And it hit me so hard, like from behind, like getting hit, you know, like getting smoked from in your car from behind. My mask, you know, it got dislodged. I was like this with this fish trying to go up. I was like, you know, oh my God. So I finally put my mask back on, clear it, and I looked down and I could still see that shark. He was right here, all eyes rolled up white. He was amped up from that fish kicking around and bleeding. And he didn't know what was going on, but he knew something cool was going on and he wanted to be a part of it. So, yeah, so at that point, once I figured out what the heck just happened, because I got hit hard and I don't know what was going on. And then I saw a little sharky down there and I said, oh boy. So I went up that line pretty fast, probably way beyond Patty standards. And I got to my safety stop area. In diving, you know, it's better if you do a stop like around 20 to 10 feet. Let your body kind of off gas some of those bubbles that you took in while you're diving. So I hurriedly got up to that spot and stopped and just did one of these. Constantly was looking down the whole time, and I could see him all the way down there at the bottom. He wasn't coming up, thankfully, and he was just swimming. His fins were in, and he was excited, boy. But I got back on the boat. I had my fish. Went home, fed the family. All was good, and yeah. That's one of my experiences on the wreck of the Eagle. And there are lots. Stand by for part 2. But anyways, I got a lot of videos of the Eagle, a whole bunch. And I thought it'd be cool for you guys to see what I'm talking about here. So I spliced some together. I'm not really good at this stuff. I'm really good at diving. I'm really good at spearfishing. I'm an incredible scuba instructor. I don't know technology that well, so bear with me. I'm doing my best to bring these experiences that, you know, some people might do, some people might not want to, but they still like looking at the stuff from afar. So without further ado, the wreck of the Eagle. Yeah, here we're diving straight up to the bow. The bow kind of faces land, faces the keys. Stern faces out to sea. So we're coming up to the bow of the Eagle right here, and you can see that's the forward mast there. You can see it's on the side. The forward mast kind of stick out, and they are loaded with sponges and corals, and it really shows what these artificial reefs do. And an artificial reef would be an intentionally sunk ship, just like this Eagle. And what they actually do to provide, you know, structure to the critters and the sponges and the corals and such. So as you get closer to this mass, as you see me come around here, and you can kind of see, look at all the growth on that. And you can see that it is absolutely just loaded. So it is doing its job, becoming an artificial reef. Gorgeous. And there you can see the mass and all the growth. If you remember me talking about Hurricane Irma, the one that hit in 2017, she flattened part of the Eagle, the actual bow section of the split, and this is it. This is where it was smashed in. You can see the mast laying out in the sand out there. That used to be kind of sticking out like the mast by the bow, and since Irma came and pounded her pretty hard, that section collapsed and the mast is now laying in the sand. And that's what you see here. And as we continue to dive along the area where it was crushed by Irma, we're coming up to that break that I told you about from Hurricane George. And you see part of it now is collapsed from Irma. But this is the area where those currents rip through there. Ooh, nice black grouper. Yum, yum. Or Goliath. That's a little Goliath grouper. So you can see where this area, attracts a lot of fish. And yeah, it's a great area to chill out and get some great photography, or chill out as a hunter if you're spearfishing or whatever. So now we're crossing over the break here and headed to the aft part of the Eagle from the break aft, and we'll continue on. This section here is actually the pilot house. This is where they would steer her. And you can penetrate through the pilot house, either starting from up top, where those divers are, kind of right at the top there. There's a door. And then you swim straight down and pop out the door by the sand. Or vice versa, you can enter up through the door from the sand area, and go straight up through the door, exiting up top. But inside that pilot house is some post where the chart tables used to be, and it's a cool penetration because you have windows and doors and everything to get out, so you feel pretty safe in that environment. So we're coming around back to the area, to the stern area, and we'll go check out the prop and the rudder. All right, here we come around the stern of the Eagle, and you can see there, that is the rudder. And by the rudder is the prop. There's a really cool penetration right there. If you are experienced or you're taking a class, wreck penetration class or something, I take my students through that hole. So there's literally like a hole going into the bellows of the Eagle right underneath the rudder. You kind of have to almost dig down in the sand a little bit and pop through in the hole, and then you're in the belly of her. So it's a cool place to start doing your penetration dive. Okay, well now we're on kind of the top, which is the side, because it's on the side of the Eagle, and we are approaching that pilot house entry from the top, if you will. I know it's on the side, but anyway. So as you can see here, there's a couple windows there to the pilot house, and we are approaching up. There's a little ladder there. You can see that it's a ladder. Approaching up to the door. So this is be like a little hallway we're walking on, or would be walking on if she was still intact. And now we're going to go to the pilot house. So check it out. Have fun. See you at the other end. Well, I did find some video of me shooting an African pompano actually on the Eagle. It wasn't that dive I explained to them earlier, but it's still a fun dive to watch. Watch me go for a ride. Apologize about the music that's on it. This was way before GoPros and technology and everything, and I couldn't get the music off the video. So, well, enjoy that. Yeah.
Chiwara mamunyo anda hiri no bena bombi magangena mamunyo misi ubalo na tema na ye kolikela mamunyo jamana bena njana jetuti jaja beni kabara jaja beni kabara jaja beni kabara jaja beni kabara. baradlaye brafo brama kabara in barafiri fane ni brafo brama tlala ka baradlala brafo brama baka barado firi ni brafo brama tlala ka baradlala brafo brama baka brama ufaje brafo brama yaka 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 brama ufaje.
Ta vie comme